Rick loves his red shoes too. Look at those babies. Huh? Pete the cat's not the only one. Yeah, those are sweet.
Love those red shoes, Dan.
Gotta love them. Gotta love them. Welcome to AC3's video blog. We are talking about...
So here we're talking about community. We're at the very end of the It's Not Rocket Science series. And then the last week, this week, we're talking about the importance of community as a growth habit in the life of the believer. So, Dan, for years, you were actually community director at AC3. This is a notoriously sticky deal about kind of prioritizing grouping and the communal aspects of the Christian life. First of all, tell us why it's important, and then we're going to talk maybe about how to do it.
Well, we covered a little bit of it this last week in the service topic, but it touched on the idea of getting your spiritual gifts in a ministry game. But you notice it's replete throughout the New Testament that there's always togetherness, that the body of Christ, that the way God expresses His love and His redemptive power is through people working together. And so you see it in the church, you see it in the church's work in the world, you see it in God's commands about families, about marriage. It's always this sense of togetherness. So it's like such a core value that the places, you don't always tend to notice the commands for it because it's just undergirding everything.
Everything's one another.
Acts chapter 2 talks about they shared everything. Nobody had any needs. They ate meals together. They worshiped. It's always together. I think there's in the New Testament 65 one another references. So, and we see this supported through, you can even step away from the scriptural command. Anthropologists will tell you that humans are always community tribal people. Biologists would say that we're herd animals, that we're, in a sense, we're made to be together. So it's absolutely critical. And the togetherness is actually how the redemptive work of Christ, it's the mode through which it moves through the creation. In other words, somebody can't experience the love of Jesus from me unless we have a relationship. However, whatever form that love takes. So togetherness is absolutely critical.
So, as the church kind of has to do its work together, that seems to be at cross purposes a little bit with American culture, so independent.
Yes, yeah.
And isolationist in a lot of ways. And especially maybe uniquely in Washington State. So how does the average believer these days prioritize community when almost this entire cultural setup, from his technology to his entertainment, is designed to allow him to be a completely isolationist, lone ranger, do it himself?
Well, it's not rocket science. I mean, that's the theme, right? So I think the first step is to acknowledge that we do live in a culture that militates against togetherness. And that is the West, generally, but then very specifically, we look at the Pacific Northwest of North America. We're a pioneering people. Privacy is really important. So the first step is to acknowledge that we're living in a culture that militates against it. So then the second thing is to compare that to the scriptural model that says, no, this is a priority. So you make it a habit, a discipline. And the ways you can do that is to find a small group and make that a discipline, a weekly gathering of other people. It could be, if you're a task-oriented person, get involved in a ministry group. If you like intellectual things, find a Bible study. If you're all about the social aspect and formal, there's always something going on. Find a friend, find a group of friends, introduce yourself, and make it a discipline like you would eating right, working out, those sorts of things.
And all the other things we talked about in our
It's not rocket science
series. It's not rocket science. It's simple. So there's a responsibility we're putting on the believer to seek this out.
Seek this out and make it a discipline.
Take initiative in it.
Yeah. Just like choosing your clothing, for example, would be something you'd want to pay attention to.
For example, you'd want to discipline yourself in the choosing of excellent shoes.
Match your red shirt, and you really should have.
I'm ridiculously color coordinated today.
Ridiculous is not inaccurate, yeah.
Well, at least I don't have a Band-Aid on my neck.
Hey now, don't even start with that. I have an owie.